Episode 354 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentelaresco. I write stuff and podcasts too. Today, Sister C, Charlotte Ferrell, is my guest. I was originally going to do Julia Trineda. Unfortunately, much like the chaos that was that episode, it was giving me chaos getting onto the system. I'm going to be looking at it literally tonight and tomorrow, and I'm going to hopefully have it up on Thursday. So I'm going to go to the next one on the queue, which is Sister C, who I was really happy to have. Sister C, Charlotte Ferrell, is a radio DJ. She hosted the college network there, Simon Fraser University. She was one of the hosts there, and we did a nice little crossover. I was interviewed with her back in December. So she gave me the I told her she'd get the opportunity to come on my show and do the same thing. It took a lot longer than I planned, but here she is. She was fun. Very interesting woman. Very interesting life. I really, really, really dug my conversation with her. I think you guys will too. Let's get into it, and then we'll talk a little bit more afterwards, okay? Okay.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
There we go. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just turning this right on right now because we're having this conversation. I hit the point mentally about 2 years ago. I went through some major changes, and that's the other reason I'm out here. I want to see where this evolution will take me. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is when you're in a place long enough, people get used to seeing you a certain way. Right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not, you don't get to grow. It's easier sometimes when you go somewhere brand new because you can be whoever you want to be and you can make that you. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because in LA, I've done nutrition and health stuff so long, people see me in that mode. And I wouldn't have thought of doing radio there. It was possible. Both times that I've come back to Canada, I've done more things in the creative arts than I did in the States. It's something like, I don't know if it's a box or whatever, but I feel more adventurous here. Yes.
Well, this is the right place for it. Right? That's the other reason I chose. I could have gone to Toronto. I hate Toronto. I'm being very honest. It is not my city. My sister lives there. I will visit her. I will enjoy the visit. Toronto's a nice place to visit. Mm-hmm. But if I go to live there, I'd go start craving mad. It's not, some cities are just not built for you, and that one's not for me. Right? Detroit feels better for me than Toronto does.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love Toronto just because, I know more people there. There are more things to do. Here, I'm just, I don't know. I know 3 people. So I don't know.
I don't know anybody.
How the city flows as much, at night. And I guess because I lived in Toronto a long time and I had worked there and I had friends there, I know where it's safe to go out. I can feel comfortable being out in the night and moving about.
Whereas here, I always want to be out. That's the interesting thing about here. Even though it's rainy, mm-hmm. I really feel like I want to be out about doing things. Now, I know people here, but I don't have anyone. I would say close friend. I have people I care about, people that look out for me. I'm thinking about my editor in particular on that one. But in terms of a close-knit friend group, I'm literally here on my own. Mm-hmm. But again, I see it at this point as an opportunity. I can be whoever I want to be. I can do whatever I want to do, and there's nothing there's no I guess expectation, although that's not quite the right word. But it's just there's no pretense. Yeah. It's just I go, I do, we see what happens. I go, I do, we see what happens, and that's it. That's all. That's where I'm at, and so I know I'm going to keep meeting. I met you, mm-hmm. right? I already met you, and I met some other people already, and it's just let's see where this all goes, and see what opportunities come, and then a year from now, evaluate. Mm-hmm. Do I stay? Do I go? maybe I fall in love out here. Maybe I get a career somewhere else.
Book takes off.
Oh, exactly.
You make a movie from your book.
Yeah.
Something that I've done that I wrote a book and I did 2 films in the States. But I never registered the film with the Writers Guild. I don't know why I registered with it. But I had a dream. I saw this thing, a travelogue about Fundy Bay. And then I had a dream in the night. And I was in the place. And so the morning, I couldn't get out of every time when you can't get out of the bed.
Yes.
It's like I wanted to get out of the bed, but the dream wanted to finish. So I was going to go and start working on something else, and this Spirit was saying, no, that's a movie. So I went to the computer and I wrote a whole treatment for it, and then I registered. And the copyrights from Canada, they're so beautiful. It's 3, superimposed maple leaves. I love it. I put it on the wall. So I really feel excited about it because I didn't let it go. And it's a place, all the things that I think, it's wet, it's cold. It's a lot of water. You could get lost. But I'm so fascinated, and I see possibilities, for doing this film. And I think because Canada still has an openness for ideas. When I first came there was under the previous Trudeau government, there was an ideas department, and they were welcoming people with ideas. And then things changed and whatnot. But I feel like it's a good place for exploring ideas.
Well, that's it, and ideals about who. It's a personal journey still at this point in time. But there's also going to be creative experiments. One of the things I noticed here, the Calgary community has a very tight knit book group, and they're great. And there's some really they're well known, or you're just starting. Everybody's connected, and it's a cool group. Mm-hmm. Vancouver, it's all scabby here, right? Which it's different. You would think that they would be more tight knit because there's more people. There's a lot more potential to collaborate together and find audiences for your stuff, but they don't do that here, which is interesting.
Did you go to Book Vancouver? It was part of the 3 days of culture.
No, I missed. Again, I just came here. I don't know. Yeah.
So they have this big group that's called Book, and I joined the BC Federation. And so the person that does that, she puts, so many things are in the newsletter about activities, meetings, whatnot. And then I went to the Poetic, when I left that thing on Sunday, I went to Poetic Justice. And it was good. And that group kind of, but they were welcoming. When I went about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I thought, but they were a welcoming group. I was the only person of color, but they didn't treat me like that. Some places you go and people treat you like you are odd.
I mean, as much as I hate to admit this, racism doesn't exist in Canada. It's not as pronounced as it is in the States, but it's there.
Yeah, it's definitely there.
It's there. So, I mean, I was fortunate in that growing up, I got to see all these different cultures moving around as much as I did. Mm-hmm. I've learned very much that everybody puts their pants on 2 legs at a time the exact same way. It really doesn't matter, right? It just live and let live, right? But not everybody has that. But I do. It's very welcoming here. Like I was really, really, really. I've been pleasantly surprised. But again, for me, I feel like as of until today, I felt like I had handcuffs on me in terms of I would love to go out, but I'm working at this graveyard shift, so I can't go out. Mm-hmm. No, don't get me wrong. I still, every job has its limitations, right? And so if you have a day job, you have to kind of do some workarounds. But the fact that I have my weekends free now,
that's great.
Yeah, that gives me a lot more opportunity to do a lot more. And that excites me big time. And I know I'm not going to see the full effect of that until February or March next year when things start to come alive again, right? But it's now okay, I'm sleeping like a normal person again. I can actually do my things, right, and not feel like I'm battling too many things. It's about the first month or so has been about me relearning to control the battles I want to fight. I went back, and this is the part where I'm kind of like, I feel like I failed a little bit, but also it makes sense. Go back to the battles you can control right away. Start there, and then what you do is you pick a direction. Like maybe I go back to school, learn Chinese. Maybe I go back to school, learn a martial art. Like from just do something different, break the mold, break the pattern, right? And then, so when I keep going out there, I keep going, I keep changing. Sooner or later, the universe, God, whatever you want to say it is going to say, Josh, you're ready for this.
Right, yeah. I have that same kind of feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Because just with doing that story, getting up and writing the treatment, I felt like, okay, because I don't usually watch travelogues. This was a documentary on Knowledge TV. And I thought, why are you watching this story? It's not even about things you like, but I couldn't turn it off. And then for it to enter my sleep. And so then I thought, some people call me that I used to be in an acting company with in L.A.
Yeah.
A guy called me who was the set decorator for it was a series, and I didn't know that he was driving from Burlingame to L.A. whenever he had big shots. I thought he lived there in the suburbs, but I found out no, he lives an hour away in Burlingame.
Yeah, because LA's, I mean, they talk about here being expensive. LA's insane.
They're on par. Actually, here is more expensive because we're paying more for the rental here than we're paying for the one
really?
in LA.
Wow.
They are on par. The only thing that's different here is a lot of times you have utilities with.
Or no, they almost always come included. I noticed in my book.
That's not included, so it makes it more expensive because and then since they're building those two stadiums, they're pushing people out. They're forcing people to move. They're just breaking the law. Like BC has a thing that you can only raise rent by 2%, and if you sell the place, you've got to accommodate the people.
Yes.
It's not like LA. There's 9 different cities in the greater LA area, and 4 of those cities aren't part of the rent control. And one of those cities that's not under rent control is Inglewood, where the new stadium is going. And so they've just been telling people, you have 4 months, you've got to move. They can't find anything. I know 2 actresses that are homeless. I mean, homeless in the way that people sleep couch to couch, because 4 months they couldn't find another place in places where 3 times as high.
No, it's brutal. Like I think the worst I think I've heard is San Francisco.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. San Francisco's nuts, and I'm looking at it. And to be very honest with you, I don't get it. It's not worth it. Like I legitimately speaking, it's just not worth it. Northern California looks very, very nice. I love San Diego.
I love San Diego. If I were staying there, I would. San Diego.
I love San Diego. There are 3 places in the United States I'd live. They're all in the Southwest: San Diego, Phoenix, Las Vegas.
I like Sedona.
Yeah.
I've written some poems in San Diego. I've written some poems in Sedona. I did a retreat in Sedona. I'd like to do a retreat again.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I picked back up doing. I did retreats. I did a lot of stuff when I was in Toronto, and some stuff I've stopped. But retreats, I do retreats very well. And I had a small retreat. I tested a retreat, and I had the people come to Whistler. And the idea was a completion retreat. For about 6 years, I've been saying somebody should have a completion retreat because everybody has this thing
that they want to finish.
So I said the thing would be you could bring one thing. And then first I thought it wouldn't matter because there's steps you can go with people for finishing anything. But I thought, no, I don't want to have one person that's doing a painting, somebody else that's crocheting, and somebody else that's writing a book. So I decided, no, it will be within the realm of something that's written or spoken. Because, even when you get space, like the person that's painting, that's going to run up your cost and your liability.
Well, no, unfortunately, although very cool. I do love jamming with different arts in there. It's really cool how. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I've done jam sessions. I've done mixed sessions, but this is a retreat.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I totally. No, I get it.
Living accommodations. No. after they told me how much security you have to put against just common little mishaps. But I also would like to do one in Sedona. I did one in Sedona after I had pulmonary embolism, and the hospitalist told me the number one cause associated with pulmonary embolism is sitting in the shape of the small letter H.
Really?
So so many of us sit on, and I would sit on the computer a lot, writing and into the night, and I was sitting in my nice big chair, and it felt like somebody came up behind me and shoved an ice pick up my back. And I had seen a video that it said any sharp, unexpected, repeated pain in a woman's upper body, you should engage the emergency system. So first I went and I thought maybe I have gas and I need some peppermint oil. And the only way I could wake up my daughter was throw myself across her bed. She's like, what the heck?
Well, yeah, because it's like, what are you doing?
She wasn't amused. So I went back to my room and it kept hurting. And so I called the 911. And so they came and they looked up in my room. One day this is going to be a scene in a movie. The firemen are taller, and if you're in your bed, they look even bigger. And they're in this yellow stuff, and they're walking around my bedroom. And these guys are, this really nice art. I'm like, the fucking art, I'm here in pain, and you're talking about my art. And so
that's a little surreal. I mean, because see, you gotta understand. You gotta understand. In all fairness to them, because I understand you were in great pain and you definitely need to be treated now. I am not arguing that point.
And 6 of them were there, you know.
Yeah. But here's the thing. First and foremost, look at the bright side. There was a potential sale there that when you recovered, you had. Number one. Number two. When you deal with EMTs and you deal with a lot, like they go to a lot of dark places, right? all things considered, yes, you were in bad shape, but right, that they're used to that, they knew was part of the job. The fact that they came to a nice place with magical art, that's cool. Right? Not for the not for the reason they're there, but I mean, but that's I oddly get that. I get your position completely, but I do get theirs too. It's like, yeah, because you know what? I'm not going into where someone's overdosing on God knows what and this really crappy spice. No, this is legit pain, and that sucks. But this art's incredible, and that's awesome. And that's actually, in an odd way, that's a compliment.
And my breath is all raspy because it keeps feeling like somebody's refused. So then we get the diagnostician. He's an EMT, but he's telling me maybe I have a kidney stone and maybe I might want to see something. I said, I want to go to a hospital now tomorrow. He's telling me go to see a something specialist. Call a special, makes an appointment. And I'm like, no, I want to go. I said, have you seen the film that was put out by Cedars-Sinai? That's one of the top hospitals in Los Angeles. Cedars-Sinai put out a film. They put it on the news that any repeated sudden pain in a woman's upper body, you should engage the system. The emergency medical system. So then, this place, God's got jokes. I wanted to have a place by the water, right? And the places by the water were like $500,000, and so I found an apartment, and there were these little streams. It was ecologically sound, so way out here they had where you park your cars, and you walk down so many steps, then down so many steps, then the steps to my unit. I took this training that they have for CERT. Community Emergency Preparedness. And they told us all of the firemen, every fire unit takes exercises where they learn the layout, the entry and exit from the buildings that are in the area. This man asked me, do you know if there's another way out than the way we came in? I mean, really, I wish I could be a good comedy writer because I could have this woman that's like, I am about to die here, and you are asking me.
I think you could write it. You should try it. No. So the trick with comedy, so my sci-fi novel has a lot of comedic moments in there. Mm-hmm. I wrote about elevator music being hell. Okay. There's as an example, I have punchlines about randomly weird. Like my main character is a coward, and I have a lot of fun with that.
Okay.
right? The trick with humor, I find, is one, you tell. There's a certain whimsy you have to have with it. But it's like every good story. You build up you build up to a point, and it's not always about what you say, it's what you don't say.
Yeah.
Right? It's what you don't say. Let the audience put the dots together, and that's the trick. I think good comedy is much like anything else that's what it's about. It's comedy is the ultimate show, not tell. Right? You show the joke. Let the audience put together the punchline. They'll figure it out. Trust me, right? They'll figure it out, right? Because the moment I think you try to explain a joke, the moment you tell a joke, or you tell what the joke's supposed to make you laugh at, that's when the joke's not funny.
Right, yeah. So anyhow, I'm still thinking, I'm hearing that one part of my brain, that would be one thing, you know how sometimes they show you what a person is thinking. One part of my brain is seeing this video talking about how important it is to engage the system. I've engaged the system. These 6 men are in my house. And he's asking me, do I know if there's another way? And so the other funny thing I did was I realized I wasn't dressed well before they came, and I got up. Hurting it all, I put on pajamas and a robe and my house shoes because I didn't want to go in this skimpy little gown. Anyhow, I thought I was telling myself, that's so crazy. Anyhow, we were walking out and they taking me on the gurney down all these stairs and up these stairs, and I'm saying, oh yeah, you're just saying I'm too fat. You don't want to carry a fat woman over, but there's 6 of you, damn it. You can carry me out of this place. But when I did get to the hospital, the doctor said, what made you come? He said, because 1 out of 10 people come when they have he said, it is an embolism. They did this contrast dye, and they said it was an air bubble in there. And then they have hospitalists. I don't know whether they have hospitalists in Canada. It was my first encounter with the term. They have a billing code. They're in the emergency. They're not a part of the staff. But it's their job to explain to you what the hell you're there for, what's wrong with you. So he comes in and he tells me, weight could be an issue. He said, but the number one reason people have embolisms is sitting too long in the position of the chair that's in the small letter H. And so that's stuck in my head because I've got
an H chair.
An H chair.
An H chair.
So
I might steal that. Nameless.
My daughter bugs me when I sit too long at the thing. But, okay, so now they give me, this stuff you have to stick into your body. You got to stick yourself with stuff, and then you have to take warfarin, which is rat poison, but it's supposed to thin your blood. And they wanted me to take it for 6 months. And I'm thinking, I could die, I could bleed out if I get hurt with this. So somebody sent me an invitation to something in Sedona, and it was about workshops, but with the spiritual. It was about facilitation. So I thought, I facilitate all kinds of stuff, but I'll go see what this facilitation is. Well, they told us the first night, we have a treat for you. We're going to have sacred music, and we're going to be working with the Tibetan bowls and the digital. I never know what this thing was. I seen people with this long curvy thing, but I didn't know what it was called. So the first night it was fine, but the third night when we were getting ready to leave, it said some people are going to experience a breakthrough. I don't know what it is, whether it's emotional, hatred, anger, whatever. But just lay where you're away from other people and just resonate with the digital. And I went into a place. I can't say how long I was there, but I was humming the digital. And then the Monday when I went back, I had the x-ray because he was going to see how if the bubble had gone down with all this medication. The doctor said, did you go somewhere where there was asbestos? And I said, no. He said, there's spots all over your lungs. And so I said, well, I went to somewhere and I felt this thing, because I did feel it pop. I felt it pop. No, that couldn't happen. I said, but the bubble isn't there. I felt it release. And there were, he said, no, you had to go somewhere where there was some asbestos. So I just said, okay, universe, this idiot doesn't understand. We know what the spots are. He broke the thing up. And I don't have to take the warfarin anymore, And so I went back about 3 weeks later and there was nothing. It's all cleared. But I just said, that was a dramatic picturing. And sometimes, who knows when things break in your body, they've only been interpreted, they've been trained to interpret things in a particular way.
The big problem with the medical industry on both countries is there's only, again, something you just mentioned, they only look at things one way.
Yeah.
They don't even look at the problem anymore. They just look at the symptoms, right? I look at like some of the things that go on when I see some of the common things that happen today. I'm thinking, okay, you're dealing with all these wonderful symptoms, but you're not actually looking at the root causes of all this stuff anymore. Because, and I realized why, and this is me at my most cynical, and that is, it's because there's no money in solving problems.
Right.
There's no money in that. There's money in dealing with symptoms. There's money in dealing with that, because make symptoms go away, the problem will persist, and those issues will come back in other ways. But if you deal with the problem, you solve the problem, well, suddenly you don't have a reason to go to a doctor. You don't have a reason to go to a healer, right? We live in a world today, where health, the United States is worse, but Canada in some places ain't much better. Health is a commodity.
And healthcare has really gone down.
Yeah, big time. No, it really has. Really.
When I worked in public health, and everything was around preventive care rather than tertiary care, and people didn't have these long waiting times. They have ridiculously long waiting times, and then they don't incorporate the holistic. When I left, when I was hurt, it was '89, and they were right at the heyday of holistic health, inviting holistic health to be a part of the whole model. That is two separate systems.
It is and it isn't. What's happened is they did two things. They classified certain holistic things as drugs, which is the one way they brought closer together. But what they did is, the moment they did that, they took a lot of the elements of that stuff that worked, and they took it out of the system. So what we have today, by and large, is a shell of what was there.
Yes.
So on one hand, no, it's actually really tightly together, but it goes back. Here's the thing, okay? An antidepressant, a GABA-based antidepressant, is based on vanilla. The reason why it's based on vanilla is because vanilla is one of the only few things on this planet that can stimulate all four parts of the brain. So you take vanilla, you take black pepper. Black pepper has an ingredient that actually called I think it's called piperine. I could be wrong. No, it's not piperine. It's just an ingredient in black pepper that actually sends a carrier message to the brain. So you take that, and you take honey. Honey, one of the most powerful healing substances on the planet. You can actually put honey on a wound; it will seal the wound. I mean, honey's potent crap. So you take all three of those things, you make a paste out of that. You have an antidepressant that costs less than $10. It's an antidepressant. It works.
Well, I mean, even the most, if you get I bought an expensive jar of honey that was $8.95 from somebody that has their own thing. You could make so many from a jar of honey and the pepper.
So take an $8 little thing of vanilla, take an $8 thing of honey, take what, $1 or $2 black pepper. You have a $20 thing that can fight depression, anxiety. It helps you cope. Right, honey has regenerative properties. Pepper has regenerative properties. Vanilla has regenerative properties. When they make the antidepressants, the GABA-based ones, they use vanilla. Wow. So I mean, it's not like I'm saying anything like that's just a basic thing. So what I'm saying, and people really understand what I'm saying now. Right? What I'm saying is the answers are already there, but what's happened is that knowledge base is not tapped into, or if it is tapped into, what happens is there's a dissemination of information. Well, studies say this, studies say that, studies say this, studies say that. So now here's what happens. You look at all this information. So you'll have, on the one hand, they'll say this will cause this. On the other hand, you'll find another study, if you look very hard, that this will get rid of this. What do you believe? What do you know? You literally now have to try everything to figure out what works.
Right.
That comes with
See
risk.
what resonates with your body.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes with certain risks.
Right.
So that is how you keep people sick.
Yeah, because there are people that will still believe the doctor. I mean, that's the challenge that's before me now. I learned so much working with energy healers. There was a doctor, I can't find him in Toronto, so I'm wondering if he's passed on, but who put my back? Medical doctors would have made me a drug addict. I had these tower things. Bursa, Oxycontin, and something else.
Oh,
They gave me these 3 towers of them. And because I had just started to work with a chiropractor, in fact, I debated the chiropractor because I was in my standard AMA registered dietitian stuff and all this, this stuff doesn't work. But I'm looking, I go to the doctor. I always thought if that pen could heal, because he just writes stuff, doesn't touch me. Meanwhile, the chiropractor's touching, exploring, feeling, and telling me things. So I started to, just by the difference in how my body felt, and that he wasn't giving me these poisonous drugs to treat, to trust him.
Well, it's everybody's got to find their own answers on that. I'm not going to say there aren't some doctors. Now on the flip side, there are some things doctors do work great.
That are great, yes.
Yeah, they're great. The thing is, we don't. That education for people. I was fortunate. My dad's a naturopath. He's got something like 50 years experience. My background, I see things in a very, very different way than most people. It used to frustrate me to no end, and as I talk to some people about this stuff, and they don't have a clue, and I can tell. It bothers me. It used to really bother me. Now it's more like I've gotten to the point. It was very hard to get to this point, but I've gotten to the point where it's like, does their treatment work? Whatever it is, good on you. Right. If you want some help, doors open. That's it. And that's just, I try to make that as far as I go. Sometimes I still put my foot in my mouth. It does happen. Yeah. But it's something that I've been very conscious of. A lot of people you have to realize that a lot of people just do the best they can, the best of what they know how. And that doesn't just include people that are sick, that's also doctors, nurses, EMTs.
Well, they've spent all that time training, and they believe all that $200,000 in 8 years. I should know something.
It's not. It depends on the doctors. The more experienced they are, the more the more experienced the doctor you deal with, it's interesting their perspective. There's a certain color, but I also feel like the nature of the system today, there's also a degree of handcuffs on the doctor too. There's only so much he can do, right? He's allowed to do. A lot of people forget that back way back in the day, when you were a kid, right? Maybe even before you were a kid, doctors would just go door to door.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all they did.
Doctor lived in our neighborhood.
Yeah, they just would go door to door. They would see what was wrong. A lot of this stuff, like what I recommended earlier, would be something a doctor back then would have recommended. Something like that. It may not have been that exactly, but it would have been something like that. Something relatively simple, something that was relatively easy to access. Something that that was relatively cheap, because that way. Because the other thing too you gotta look at too is, what's the point? Like I saw a bill the other day. I remember I saw this. There was it was an $800,000 hospital bill, right? And it was like, what the fuck? Like literally, like really. I mean. Yeah, I love that my life was saved, thank you, but seriously, I'm not going to indentured servitude. I mean, these people should be ashamed of themselves.
Oh, I spent 2009 was the last time I was in a car accident. My brother, who was an excellent driver, was driving, but because some people are texting and whatever when using phones, it was a rainy day. A woman hit a car who hit her, so we got the impact of the fourth car down. And I went to emergency because the seatbelt, when it snaps, it can make you feel like it's broke your breastbone.
Oh,
it bruised you.
A seatbelt is a mixed blessing. Depending on the car, there's a lot of. I've seen instances where the seatbelts made it worse. I've seen instances where the seatbelts saved lives. It goes both ways.
So I had these 2 injuries. I was at KU Medical Center 4 hours. They billed $16,000. They two pain pills they gave me. They charged $800 for each of the 2 pain pills, and I just thought, how on earth can this be possible? Well, they told me your insurance company will argue it down some, but they still took out of my settlement. They took $8,000. It was like 4 hours. 4 hours. They did an MRI. We could have taken a picture of myself. But it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they can charge the amounts. It has nothing to do with how far they advanced you along the scale. They didn't treat anything. They just gave me those 2 pills. They took the x-rays. They determined nothing was broken and told me I had soft tissue injuries, which I already knew. But I went there because my chest was hurting so bad. Well, I thought, well, maybe it could have disrupted my heart.
It could have been worse. It could have been worse, right? And so you went in as a precaution. I mean, that's it's one reason I don't live in the States. Like, I don't ever, the idea of getting sick down there scares the fuck out of me. Anyone that lives there, I mean, if you got money, you're great. But if you don't, oh, God help you.
So ambulances and stuff here are covered?
Yes, by March.
My dad, I went for a while. My dad was a veteran. He was a Buffalo soldier. He went in the military. Big, strong black kid. After the Depression, they hired a lot of people to do, it was CP something, work development program that they had. And so he actually went into the military at 16 because he had been working in that program. He was supporting his mother and sister, and he went in. And so from all that time, he was a veteran of Korean War, offshore for Vietnam, re-upped again. And so you would think there would be this bounty of benefits. I can tell you how much I fought with the VA over basic things he was supposed to get. And he, aside from the VA, he had the mindset to buy supplementary insurance. If it hadn't been the supplementary insurance, what they do with veterans, it's like, I saw the VA and it was like something you would put a dog in. I spent the whole $3,000 a month of his pension plus $600 of my money for him to be in a place that was like a country club. It was a nice place, and it was a place that said that they work with people with memory loss at their level on a day-to-day basis. So they had nice rooms. They had, if a person on a particular day could do chess, they would do chess. On another day, if they couldn't remember what a ball looked like, but it was just. It was something that I would picture that I would want to be in. But why should the people, and this is why America is a very dangerous place for the amount of anger that has built up against a highly well-trained army. These people are not getting, they have to fight for the stuff they get. There are people waiting months and months. And this is an armed population trained to make bombs from stuff under a cabinet. But there's going to be more craziness happening there because they're not being looked after.
It's something that could happen here too. It's not inconceivable. The thing is, at some point in this world, we talked a little bit this when I was interviewed on your show. We're coming to an end of an age. Mm-hmm. Like we are at the end of an age. The people in power are going to lose it, not because I say so or any big proclamation, but the power sources that govern society as we knew it, they no longer can do that.
Right.
So what's happening is you're seeing right now is you're seeing the breaking down of a system. So when you look at some of the things you're seeing right now, what you're seeing is that last vestige of grasping what you can as it's slowly being stripped away from you, as other things come to take over as well, because that is also the nature of the business. That's just the nature of the world. Things change, power moves, and power is moving, power is shifting in the world. So now what's happening is the power that was is fading. But because it's fading, it's trying to grab onto anything and everybody it can as it goes down. Because it's going down this abyss, it's going to take whatever it can with it. That's just nature. Look, you're on top. If you are on top, you want to stay there as long as possible.
Right.
Makes sense. Human nature. If you're going to lose it, right? you might not want to go. And if you don't want to go, you're going to go kicking and screaming.
Destroying what's there.
Yeah, we're kicking and screaming. So that's what's happening right now. The United States is, as it is, it needs to go. On the flip side, a lot of people are going to suffer because of it. Because what's going to happen is, one day, they're going to, if this keeps up, if no infrastructure is put in place, if no wealth is being put back into people of the country, and wealth is going in all these other places it really shouldn't be, what's eventually going to happen is sooner or later there's going to be a snapping point with the populace. Now when that does happen, now what's going on right now, as you can see, is there's being great pains to divide the populace in as many different ways as possible. So
turn them against each other.
Exactly. Because when and if that anger blows, they'll take it out on each other and send the people necessarily responsible for it. Right. All the while, though, with people in charge, they're going to start devouring each other too.
Right.
Because what's going to end up happening there is there's only going to be so much power. The nature is it's destructive on top and bottom, because what happens is the bottom might be destroyed first, but the top will eventually happen is they're going to look around and say the only people that anything is each other. And the nature of a beast is to feed. Well, who's going to feed on whom when it comes to that? They're going to feed on each other. It'll be right? So that's where it's going. That's where it's heading. Unless one day, unless someone wakes up and goes and says, you know what? We need a really easy solution. You know what would be a good solution? Instead of having all the military officers based around the world right now fighting all these battles that really have no business battling, what if you reopen all the bases in the states that have been shut down in the last 30 years? You call the troops home and you give them this job, this instructions. You know this infrastructure that we broke?
Yeah.
Fix it.
Right.
The military is one of the most organized functions still in the United States that works relatively close to its peak efficiency. You have skilled people in skilled positions that now, by and large, no matter what politics, race, creed, whatever, want to serve the country in the best way possible.
Right.
And you're telling them you can rebuild the infrastructure that has been busted for so long. I think a lot of people in the military would relish that opportunity, and they would clean up a lot of the problems. It wouldn't happen overnight, but if you did that, you would probably within 10 to 20 years, you probably would have a completely brand new country, and you fix a lot of the problems like that.
The technical knowledge, the equipment. When Australia was burning, and when Los Angeles was burning, I mean, fire was running along from Northern California down to Southern California. I thought, we have all these planes, billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, on these big carriers. It's not that much of an adaptation to make those things carry water.
Yeah.
And it just seems so simple to just redirect these things that are just sitting on fields, fill them with water, and fly over both Australia and Los Angeles.
Simple, yes.
California, other places.
Simple, yes. Easy, no. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Again, we don't, right now, it's kicking and screaming. Now, what comes next? That's a question. And this is there's the optimist and then there's the pessimist. The optimist says that because of everybody looking for their own solutions to problems. I read something about someone came up with a chemical to destroy all plastic in the ocean. Really cool. All the plastics gone. You can actually wipe them out.
So do we take out the fish too?
No. Cool, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So boom, there's one problem solved, and these things are going on right now. I saw you can build concrete out of paper. You have people looking for all these creative solutions to these problems and using the materials we have. I saw a video of how to they took light tubes and bleach and they turned it into a light bulb that would shine in poor homes at night. The ingenuity of the human race is incredible.
Right.
It's absolutely incredible. The flip side, and this is I think the real challenge, we have to stop looking at ourselves as worthless. What can I do? I am one voice. No. I have one voice and I can change the world with it. That has to be the attitude, not just of me, but of everybody. Because if everybody had that attitude, the world would have no choice but to change. Because couldn't stop everybody. Sooner or later, someone's will would change the world, right? The fact is, the real problem is, from what I can see, from what I can tell, North Americans have forgotten, by and large, just how powerful they are, or they're afraid of
how creative they are,
or they're afraid of it. And I think that's the real problem. We've been taught to be afraid. We've been taught that we are not worthy, whatever that is.
Well, part of that's setting apart people, because it's also been beamed into people's head. These other people want to take what you have.
Yeah.
And beyond that, for some people, some other people, even though you've got all these things, some of the things you were entitled to, these other people are getting it, and they're not as good as you. And so you have these.
Oh, right. That's cool.
So
So we could be real assholes here.
Yes.
We really could. This is not the conversation I expected to have with you, for sure. This is an interesting one nonetheless. Why don't we do this? Why don't we wrap? Because it's closing time. Why don't we wrap it up? Why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you do, why you're awesome, and how people can find you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am Charlotte Sista C, not sister, but Sistac Ferrell. I am a speaker, writer, and author who revitalizes, that's Star, who revitalizes people's stories and revitalizes people's projects through the creative arts. I am, you can find me at CSistaCF. My Instagram is at CSistaCF. My Twitter is CSISTACF. And I have a new website that's being developed. I do the Speak Up show on CJSF Radio 90.1 FM in Burnaby, where I inspire people to speak up, listen up, and act upon what they've heard. And so I am going to, I love being in Canada. I love the way that it's honoring creativity. I'm in an advanced decade of my life, but I feel very creative with ideas to create new movies, ideas to work with people. I like the spirit of things that start with C. I'm Sister C, but collaboration, creativity, and consciousness are things that I find here and that I'm working with. So that's how you can reach me. You can email me at IamSistaC, at gmail.com.
And that was my conversation with Sister C. Charlotte was a blast. I'd happily have her on the show again. I'm not sure, sitting in the wake of the events right now, if she's able to host her show, but there's definitely archives at Simon Fraser University, if nothing else. She's definitely worth listening to. Interesting woman, does a lot of really cool things. Charlotte, if you are listening to this, thank you very much for coming on my show. You are more than welcome to come back anytime. So, with Charlotte and Julie Trinidad's podcast forthcoming, that's it from all my 2019 conversations. It took me to the middle of April, but I finally ended all my 2019 conversations. It's been a wild year. It's been a really wild year. I'm starting into 2020 next year, so I'm going to go back and forth. I have some early 2020 conversations that still haven't been aired yet, and they're going to be trickling in bit by bit. Probably not for the first 2 weeks. Next week's going to be Bobby Nash and my guest for the weekend, Into a Dream, who's a game developer. But after that, I'm going to probably do the COVID special I did with Jen Taylor, and that was a really good conversation about panic and mental health in this environment, which I think is a very important conversation. But after that, I'm going to go back and forth between conversations I've had more recently versus conversations I had in the past until they kind of all balance out until just completely into the future. So that's the plan there. I'm hosting a Creative Night in Quarantine. I'm going to be doing a little reading from The Cloud Diver, which releases May 1st. That's right, guys. May 1st. I'm really excited about it. I'm finally, it's coming out. Definitely going to be cool when it hits. It's going to be an ebook. The Amazon order form should be up next week. I'll be doing something with Kobo as well the following week. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to do this, and even though the times are what the times are, it's now or it's never, man. You got to go for it. Life is just too short. Yeah, I haven't talked about too much about stuff that actually brings me down during this. I'm going to mention this really quick. I had this conversation really briefly online. People are fighting over how they think the world's going right now. Good, bad, and different. People are fighting. Some people think that this is all a trumped up conspiracy. Some people think that it is going exactly as, as it develops. I think it's a little bit both. Personally, I always think the truth somewhere a little bit in between. I cannot deny that there are people that are benefiting from this, but I also know that COVID's definitely infected a lot of people's lives. A lot of people I know. I have friends who have had it, so it's a real thing, right? It doesn't change the shitty fact that right now this is a very cruel time. We're all being asked to do a lot, and it sucks, and it's not fair. And honestly, we never should be asked to do these things ever by anyone, but we have to do it. I'm not going to say it's your duty, because I certainly, if someone told me it was my duty, I wouldn't do it, and so I'm not going to say that. But we are in this together. We really are. And the last thing we need to do right now is fight each other. We should, I'm not saying kumbaya and sing hallelujah, but there's definitely a live and let live part of this. And honestly, understanding it, and we all are doing what we can in our own way. I think more often than not, people have their hearts in the right place, and if nothing else, that should be respected. That's my opinion, though. But hey, it's my show, so what do you want? But yeah, that's the only thing that really has brought me down. I can't really complain about everything that's happened to me. It's been an amazing 2 weeks. I got my book. I've done some really cool freelance stuff. Like I say, Creatives in Quarantine this Thursday. 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Be there. It's gonna be great. I got great guests coming up. I have lots of cool people reading. I got my 6th reader in today, so I can make some announcements about who's coming up and coming aboard. It's such a cool... I'm having such a cool time making so many amazing things happen, and I'm grateful that everybody's letting me do it. So, guys, thank you very much. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. I promise next one will be with Julie. One way or the other, I will kill to make that happen. So for those who support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. Subscribe to it. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. Pretty much any platform you want to look for me, I am there. Click the subscribe button, share it, tell people I exist. I have a newsletter, MailChimp.com. My newsletter is called Let's Get Dangerous. It's me basically encouraging you guys in these hard times. I'm going to show you some outside the box ways of thinking, which you probably will think I'm a little crazy about, but hey, I acknowledge my insanity up front, so I mean, you know what you signed up for. But I'm going to inspire you. I'm going to try to make you chase joy in this time, because honestly, that is the only real way we will survive. So I got a newsletter. The link will be in the description. You can buy The Cloud Diver, available May 1st by myself and Lance Bond. The order form will be also available as of next week. I have merchandise, jpantelleresco.redbubble.com. Visit my sponsor, indieimprint.com. I'm on YouTube as Joshua Pantelleresco. My Twitter and Instagram is at jpantelleresco. My Facebook is Joshua Pantelleresco, author podcaster. But whatever you do, whatever you believe, stay inspired, chase joy in this time. You need it more than you know, and find a reason to smile every day. Until then, guys, till next episode, have a good one.
Josh.